Hello, babies, and welcome back to my channel. It's a little bright. Okay, we good. How are you guys? You know I'm always checking in, see that y'all are good. Wow. This retrograde, let me tell you something. This retrograde is unlike anything that I have experienced before. And I guess I just say that because the breakthroughs are breakthroughing, okay? And I'm always going to make a noun a verb. I'm always going to make a noun a verb, like not the breakthroughing, but it's just facts, you know? And before I got on camera, I was just so incredibly, ferocious in my spirit. And, I wanted to come here grounded, but still with that level of intensity because of the reality of what it is I intend to discuss today. And so within our spiritual community and along our journey and, just being humans here in the experience, it can be such a tumultuous, it can be a vigorous thing to pinpoint what may be holding you back. And one of the things that I want to talk about here is, I discussed childhood trauma, from my perspective in a few different ways, and how that can contribute to learned behaviors and feelings. And, in the spiritual community, we talk a lot about worthiness and deservingness, but within identity, we're not tapping enough into self-esteem and self-trust. And perhaps, I'm not seeing this from a more expansive perspective, as in, no, there's several people, baby, you just haven't yet seen it because it was for you to unveil certain things within your human experience for the inspiration to share it, uniquely the way that you would share it to those in the collective that resonate with you, right? And I think that's the answer, okay? And so, that being said, where I want other spiritually gifted, talented people to grasp and hold on to is that self-esteem and self-worth after experiencing childhood trauma or as part of your early experiences, it can be distorted. And we know that, right? But the uniqueness to which it can be distorted can be this journey where, a lot of what we talk about within manifestation is about like confidence, right? But esteem and self-worth, those to me are what truly will be, the foundation of whether you, are able to really evolve, or if you do find that you are having a perpetual cycle of stagnancy. And I say that in reference to, healing, because within healing, a lot of us are really focused on what it would look like so that we feel better as people from healing. We are more available to family, friends, our community because we've healed certain things. But I want you guys to really look at healing as not just those things, but for motivation, for inspiration, healing as the factor that is going to show you the difference between the truth of who you are and what has been deception, because I've often talked about illusion, but when we really want to go to bat for ourselves, it has to come from a deeper emotion, a passion. And to me, because because my Leo identity is surrounded by pride to some degree, right? It's like, I'm going to be motivated, and I'm going to stand on business when it comes to not being deceived. And so, and that's really, the premise of where there is imbalance here, is where there is deception and where humanity is being tricked out of, their true creative power. And these soul checkpoints that I talk about, like childhood trauma, we're going through them personally because we're going to alchemize them by what we personally experience and what we're able to unlock and nurture, so that on the other side of it, we are stepping back into that power. And what I mean is that creative power. What I mean is that source embodiment, meaning, no matter what is outside of us, it can't take away our free will. It cannot, we don't need to define ourselves to those things, because we are the ones that can manifest. And when we go through these soul checkpoints and they alter, our feelings and how we are measuring ourselves, which is self-esteem, versus, self-worth, which is that sense of deservingness, that sense of like knowing that it's owed to you, right? And when we're able to do that, that's when we can truly distinguish between remembering ourselves as source. Okay. And remembering yourself as source shifts you right back into, well, I can create myself out of this or that. Or, I'm here to do what a master of my own energy does, because I am source, right? But beyond that, these experiences that we have are so that we can recognize different ways that we might be presented manipulation out of those things, so that we can master them. And then once we move through different levels of ascension and, we're in that place of authority for what it is we want to create or change here, we're prepared. And a lot of us have done this time and time again in different lifetimes. And so, right now, the collective, and for years maybe, have been saying we're the chosen, but we're not the chosen, because you choose to come here as part of your soul plan, soul contract with God. And what that may look like is certain, like as I mentioned, checkpoints. But in actuality, we're the ascended ones, meaning we've come here to Earth several times over and cleared this karmic shit that, is tricking people out of their power, tricking people out of who they are. Because part of the experience here is for us to learn between love and fear. But when we pick up certain adaptations and attachments from where we've been manipulated, not just out from lower fear-based beings, because that's something that we've given a lot of power to, but let's look from an ego standpoint. Okay? From an ego standpoint, meaning how humanity within our egos have manipulated each other. Okay? And so when you're an ascended one, you're not going to be susceptible to that manipulation once you have mastered these learning experiences. And when you do, that is when you are able to lead. And, the soul has to be inspired and motivated through different learning experiences, because it comes from neutrality and unconditional love. But once we get here, I'm sorry, I'm so I feel reinvigorated, right? Because I was reaching certain walls in walls in my, spiritual journey when I knew what I knew intuitively, only to find out that it's something that was a part of other people being influenced by their ego. And if we already have lower fear-based beings that don't want creation to continue, and then we as humanity are finding ways to deceive and trick because of things that we're not realizing are separating us as part of the creative power that you have and the creative power that I have, all of us. The battle is not between people. It really is based on this lack of awareness that you are already source and everything is within you. You can create just like he or she or them can create. And so you've got people being influenced by lower fear-based beings, and you've got people who are being raised by others who are influenced by their ego, and all of these different factors that are creating these karmic cycles that are mistruths. Because let me tell you something, I know who I am. And going through this particular journey within my spiritual, going through this particular era of my spiritual journey, it awakens you unlike anything else when you look at it. Well, it's not that I don't have the spiritual wisdom, and that I'm not, creating, haven't already evolved within my relationship with God and what it is that, I'm experiencing and know to be true spiritually. So what is this wall? And sometimes the wall is, designed so that, you receive, clarity on how others are still being tricked out of, their natural gifts and their natural knowings. And that's purposeful because, again, some of us have already ascended and are used to doing this. Like we done did it in incarnation in and out. And, because we're able to do it and have done it, once we do master, and I've even heard like a creator I like, her name is Jay Renee. She's got a channel, Mo Money Bags, Mogul, where it's like, once you integrate that with the empathy that you have, then it's like that's where you have powerful shifts. So all you empaths hearing this, evaluate what within Esteem, as part of a foundation of identity is really making, is really stagnating. And it can be very sneaky, which is why I feel the most ascended ones may take on these soul checkpoints of, early experience, issues within early experience, because that's what shapes identity. But we're talking about identity so much, and just beneath the surface of that is esteem and self-worth, where those who have had that in their early experiences have had to rebuild that esteem, from the ground up. You're talking about getting it out the mud. That's getting it out the mud. Okay. Because it's not like you have this core identity that, your early experiences are full of love and this and that. No, it's like you're taking all of those things, moving through your own lived experiences and deciding like, I'm not tolerating that. I'm not tolerating this. I still know who I am. I'm confident, whatever. And then you realize, okay, but there's some subconscious ways. I don't just have low self-esteem, low worth. I know who I am, but there's just like these very peculiar ways in which, okay, if I, do this, then I found new ways to, feel my way out of, or think my way out of, different things. And that comes from, healthy esteem being placed in the shadow. And then, for example, the ego, the analytical mind coming behind and rationalizing out of things. And so I'll even give this example. What it may feel like is you getting excited about something. It's just your intuitive feeling, you getting excited about something. And now, you go to do it. And then different things start to flood in that, rationalize out, why that, it can't be done. It's got to be done all, or it can't be done at all, or it can be something, again, from an emotional place, right? Where it's like, okay, you feel a way and then you go to do it. And it's like, well, but okay, maybe I can take some time and like, let me X, Y, Z these factors, and then I'll feel in tune with what it is. But if there's a foundation of esteem and aspects of esteem that, where there's a disconnect, you're not even going to recognize that it's a part of the foundation. You're trying to do things. Some of us are not linear. Some of us are not, one dimensional. Some of us, the roots of where, we shine have been distorted at very complex levels. So it's sneaky. And I think that there's just so many people that are dealing with that. But because, it takes a certain level of vulnerability to tap into those complexities, that, it can be difficult to have a lot of people speaking on that. Let me turn this around, because see, y'all gonna hear me, honey. The light want to shine like this. I don't got time. I'm getting a little hot sweat. Okay. Cause yeah. So, these are where those complexities are. That's why, I've talked about multidimensionality and leaning into that from a spiritual perspective. But for some of us, there's still different things, within our human experience that have to undergo a process of shifting as well. But, I did this solar plexus chakra activation. What was it, yesterday? Shout out to @Solar Sage. I'm going to tag her. I'm going to tag Money Bags. Money Mogul. Money Bags. Mogul. Look, I do not want to get it wrong because I like her a lot. Look, friend. Hey. But, Solar Sage saying she'd spent, years, it sounded like, on her solar plexus chakra. And this is a reminder for you guys to do diversify your meditations, because I've been meditating a lot with gratitude, just from the different things that I've been trying to shift for myself, and diversifying the meditations, like my chakra meditations, something, just her dropping that seed and me having received some previous insight about like, okay, let's put some intentionality around that type of meditation. Let's listen to it overnight, not just the hang drum. Let's listen to fire burning on logs, like those types of visuals. You see, so you're diversifying your meditation, not only by switching between chakras, but also by way of, what type of instruments and frequencies are used, right? Because the fire burning on the logs, that set it up for me, baby. Set it up for me, allowed, something that I've been trying to dismantle, specific to me and, my family and the experiences there. But, it's a call sometimes, and I talk about energy all the time, but when we're managing multiple things, the ego, aka analytical mind, but you're feeling that it's starting at your feelings, then it may be a part of that foundation, the human foundation. You're so psychic, you're so intuitive, and you've been doing energy work forever, and it's all about spirituality. And then just beneath the surface is where you're also being called to integrate what it is your lived experiences are showing you've adapted for as a human. Okay, because that's all what it's about, is like this integration between the two. But this serves a higher purpose, because those who are the ascended, you feel like you've gone through back-to-back challenge and, different things where it has felt isolating. That's because you know how to ascend through these things. This ain't your first rodeo. Okay. And as you do, which it is a, lifelong process of, learning and healing, right? But at the same time, you know how to spiritually manifest. You know how to quantum leap, and we talk a lot about nervous system regulation, but when it may not be at the level of, just getting used to being in that abundance energy. That's part of it. But visiting and understanding where you may have been gaslighted and you may have been, emotionally discounted in ways that you've now anticipated and accommodated for as an adult, where it feels habitual. This is where we get into those deeper layers. Okay. And, it doesn't take away from who you are as a person. Like, who you are. It's just a matter of understanding that these different iniquities, okay, these aspects of healing are not because, you need to be changed and repaired. It's because you had to have these different experiences so that you can alchemize them, like you've been doing forever and in different lifetimes, and be able to serve this larger, mission here of raising the vibration of the collective, so that the people who are unhealed and, are still navigating those learning experiences and disconnects can see what it looks like when you alchemize those things and you're not able to be manipulated with an illusion of who you are or an illusion of who they are. And it is about being close to spirit, but it's also about, this foundation. Okay. If you have experienced different things in your early experiences. And, I'm actually proud, that, that's something that my higher self has, set into my soul plan, because it's like, you can take my baby from childhood, take on to adulthood, honey, and she's still gonna come back and alchemize it. Okay. And, confidence comes from a spiritual knowing, but, this true evolution within esteem, that evolution within self-trust because of what you've had to get out of the mud. That to me is like my higher self trusting me down. Okay. And I know how it feels when you are just trying to, understand, like, what is that wall? I keep knowing spiritually, and it can be very, again, sneaky, because it's not just, you're evolving spiritually. Like, you're hitting all the ranks, you're understanding consciousness, and you're accepting what you're seeing, which is difficult, y'all, because it causes an ego death at different junctures of the journey. But, when you're doing all of that spiritually, and, you are doing things to support yourself, mind, body, and spirit, as, someone that is a human in this, on earth, or what's like, yeah, a person, like, child. It's so hard, because when you have so many truths and you are dissecting them down, it can be like, trying to have people see through a kaleidoscope. Okay. But that being said, I just wanted to share a little bit more about, like, Esteem and self-trust being a part of, nurturing that next level for your spiritual evolution. Because esteem is more about how you measure your abilities, your capabilities, projects, what it is that you're creating, and anything that you are putting your heart into, right? And then that self-worth is more about that feeling of, deservingness, and that is all something that we talk about a lot on the self-worth end. But the emotions, the learned behaviors and feelings, it may be coming from a foundation of the esteem, like aspects of it. It don't have to be your whole foundation, honey, but certain unique things. And so I actually attached a PDF to this video so that you guys can kind of look at, okay, well, how does this present in the shadow, right? And then, why it's important from this video, take why it's important to, identify where within your early experiences, how parts of your esteem and what that's looked like with self-trust. See, oh my God, I had to close that curtain before I just burnt up out here, y'all. Before I done got burnt, before I done got toasted. Okay, so that being said, I just really wanted to capture, self-esteem and, the subcategory of self-trust and what that looks like for leaning into your spiritual journey and the purpose behind it as it relates to raising your consciousness, and why you really are on this journey as an ascended one, as a creative spiritualist, as a firefighter, as a police officer, as all of the things that contribute to creation that was put on your heart to do at each, life stage that you're going through. Okay. But I wanted to be able to bring that into the conversation because we talk a lot about self-worth. Everyone, you got to have worthiness to manifest, and you have to want it. You have to want it for yourself. And it's like the emotions, the feelings that people may be getting, again, may not be about whether they believe that they deserve it or not. The beliefs may be subconscious as it relates to aspects of their esteem. And if paired and coupled with their early experiences, may be a part of where you were contracted to personally experience, that in itself, and alchemize it and share it with the collective so that it is exposed to the light, and you're able to master this journey so that you can focus more on your creations. Okay. And so I love you guys so much, as always. Please check out the PDF below, just for, additional reference. And, I intend to release more content around this, more, revelations that I receive from source. But yeah, this is what really creates certainty, beyond your spiritual knowings. And as you are ascending at different levels for different purpose sets, right? Because again, in my last video for spiritual protection and things like that, when you're a spiritualist specifically, you're doing one of the most expansive roles to drive sources, planning for having people come back to that soul remembrance. And, that's not light. So, what you're doing is not light work when you're doing spiritual work. I mean, it's light work for light workers, but it ain't nothing light. It ain't lightweight work. Okay. But I love y'all so much. Where this has resonated, please comment below. Also, just let me know, what you guys are doing as part of re-nurturing self-esteem and self-worth for yourselves, as well as, you know, self-trust, like, you know, taking those baby steps towards different things that you love. Because, and I'm gonna wrap it up after this, I promise. My main goal has been to really find more empathetic ways to shift things within others based on how they feel, not just about, you know, what I can share from a place of spiritual download. And that's because people don't change just by what they know. They change based on how something or an experience makes them feel. And so, you know, I'll definitely release more content around this. And, you know, I just had to at least get out the conversation, because sometimes the boldness is not about confidence. Sometimes the boldness is about you choosing you from a place where you see that others have never made you feel, you know, chosen. And a lot of that is because, you know, you're not supposed to be chosen. You're supposed to be ascended. You've been ascending, you know, and so you're here to show what that looks like. But let me get off of this. They gave me a mic and they gave her a breakthrough, and now she don't know how to act. I'm gonna support my baby. I'm gonna support my inner child, Kiki. Look, that's the drive. That's the goal, you know. And anyway, I love y'all so much, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Okay, bye.